Hello and welcome to CBS Sports HQ, delivered by Papa John's. New grilled buffalo chicken papadilla, just $6. The SEC on CBS Game of the Week. Alabama dominates Texas A&M, winning their 8th straight game against the Aggies, and Nick Saban improves to 20-0 against former assistants. Here's how it went down in Tuscaloosa, a ranked-on-ranked matchup. Just over 19,000 fans at Bryant-Denny. Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban sharing pregame pleasantries. Picking up mid-first quarter, Mac Jones on 3rd and 8. This is what you call converting on 3rd down. 78-yard touchdown to John Metchie III, his first career touchdown reception. 7-0 tied. Late first quarter, Texas A&M looking to answer. Down 14-0. Kellen Mond to Anais Smith along the sideline. Alabama thinks he's out of bounds. He's not. 47 yards for the touchdown. And the Aggies make it a 7-point game. Calling the field stands. Early second quarter. Mac Jones under pressure. Swatted, intercepted by DeMarvin Neal. Take him back to inside the 20. Next Aggies play. Going to convert here. Defense into offense. Kellen Mond connects with Ryan Rennick. 17-yard strike. And Texas A&M ties the game just like that. Taking the most of the opportunity. Given a chance, and they capitalize. Mid-second quarter, Najee Harris had 3 touchdowns last week against Missouri. Second touchdown of the game for him. 9th straight game with a rushing touchdown. 6th career with 2 rushing touchdowns. Following Texas A&M drive, Kellen Mond makes a mistake. Intercepted by Daniel Wright, and that's a pick 6. 47 yards. Alabama up 28-14. 15th straight game with a turnover for the Tide. Look at that, the belt, nice. Bama factor, ball out. Speaking of balling out, Mac Jones did so. DeVonta Smith, toe touch. Alabama up 35-14. 21 unanswered points to end the first half. Mac Jones, a little swagger. We saw him do a little strut after that touchdown to John Metchie III. And then how about this? A pump fake and deep to Jaylen Waddle. 87-yard touchdown. 42-17. Waddle 5 catches, 142 yards. That TD. Mac Jones, 20-27, 435 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an INT, and Alabama rolls. 52-24. Nick Saban now 20-0 against his former assistants, including 4-0 against Jimbo Fisher. Alabama, 8 straight wins against Texas A&M. Alabama covers the spread. It was an 18-point spread. Chip Patterson, Danny Cannell, Tom Fornelli all picked Alabama. Lock unity. Knowledge in your mind, money in your pocket. Let's go beyond the box in this one. The SEC on CBS Game of the Week. And as we mentioned, Nick Saban proves to 20-0 against his former assistants. And he's going to get to face another former assistant next week in Lane Kiffin. He's the offensive coordinator there in Tuscaloosa from 2014 to 2016. Now the head coach at Ole Miss. So Nick Saban looking to go to 21-0. We'll see about that. Jimbo Fisher 3-8 against ranked teams as Texas A&M head coach. And again, Alabama covers. Game goes over the total of 54 at Bryant-Denny. All right, let's welcome in our guys. Former Florida State standout, 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, and CBS Sports HQ college football analyst Barrett Sallee and Chip Patterson. B-Mac, I'll start with you here. Your impressions of this Alabama offense, just big play after big play.
Impressive performance, dominating performance. Going into this ball game, Hakeem, we talked about our expectations, and we felt like Alabama would have success. They would have had success against A&M's defense, but the way they did it, the splash play after splash play, Mac Jones is balling. He is balling. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and he had one blemish on his day with that deflection that resulted into an interception. But outside of that, man, he's been on fire. And then you look at some of the skillful players that we knew about, right? Najee Harris, Smith, Waddle, but Metchie, I mean, you got another freshman that has jumped out and really showcased an outstanding skill set. And then defensively, I mean, Dylan Moses and Surtain Jr., but then Malachi Moore. I mean, they just continue to rebuild and just keep the process going. So for me, this was a dominating performance, and I know Alabama has played in only 2 ball games, and I don't think they would be the #1 team this upcoming week, jumping Clemson, especially if Clemson wins the ball game. But me personally, I think Alabama is playing like the best college football team in America right now.
Yeah, they look awesome, B-Mac. And to me, Alabama, the biggest thing to take away from this is that it's the same old Alabama team. They're like a heavyweight boxer that takes 1 punch, perhaps 2 punches, laughs at the opponent, and then starts to pummel them. That's what they do. And you look around the country, the top 2 teams in the country, Clemson and Alabama, are just on a different level. I thought this last week, and I think this week, when you look at the other games and then you flip on an Alabama game, even if Florida was on earlier, the #3 team in the country, Alabama just looks different. They look bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody, and they have these weapons. And they alluded to it, Gary and Brad alluded to it on the broadcast, that they've got this killer instinct. Things aren't always going to go their way. It never happens like that. It's never perfect. They don't panic, and they just pound you into submission. And that's why I think it's going to take an extraordinary effort to beat this team, at least in the regular season, because there really is only one team playing on the same level as them right now, and that's Clemson.
It is Alabama's 12th game with 50 or more points to start of the 2018 season. That's most in FBS, as they get another dominating win, 52-24, their 8th straight victory over Texas A&M. Mac Jones, 435 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He was 20 of 27. Only had 7 incompletions in this game as Alabama improves to 2-0 to start the season. All right, let's get right to the site. Let's head to Tuscaloosa, where we welcome in lead sideline reporter for the SEC on CBS, Jamie Erdahl. Hi, friend. First of all, great to see you. You were speaking with Nick Saban post-game. What did he have to say to you?
Yes, I spoke with him briefly. First of all, Hakeem, so good to hear from you again, my friend. I caught up with him briefly post-game. I purely asked him how comfortable did Mac Jones look within this offense. I mean, for a kid to step in after being the backup for the last few seasons and to look so cool, calm, and collected, 4 touchdowns to 3 different receivers. Nick Saban said, we have always had confidence in Mac. Well, now it's truly his time to shine, but it's really no surprise to his receivers, Hakeem. These guys have been with him from his first day as freshman year for Mac Jones, going to the indoor late at night to make sure he had the routes down. He's been throwing to Jaylen Waddle far earlier than we have ever seen him on the field here at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So the comfortable, confident quarterback that we're seeing is truly no surprise to this Alabama offense. Yeah, how about Mac Jones with a little swagger, had a little shimmy there on that first big play to John Metchie III. How comfortable did he look to you, and what was kind of the reaction from the sideline from his teammates to see him kind of ball out here? Well, the thing about Alabama's wide receiver room and group in particular that I've really enjoyed over my first couple seasons on the SEC is how they love to cheer each other on. You know, we looked at this wide receiver group coming in Jaylen, Waddle, and DeVonta Smith, and we really thought they were going to be the 1-2 punch. And I think Gary Danielson said it best, like, you want to worry about the first 2 guys? Worry about the 3rd guy in John Metchie III. And they're just pumped up for each other. For Metchie to go long on that first touchdown and to wrap up the day with that 4th touchdown for Mac Jones, I mean, you can just tell the confidence that a guy has if he is able to see so many different weapons within an offense, that he's not just honed in on one receiver. He's not treating one guy as just a crutch. And I think this is just the beginning for Mac Jones in this offense. Jamie, what did you learn about Alabama that perhaps you already didn't know? Of course, you've seen Alabama play multiple times on CBS. Well, I think they had a lot of guys to fill in the gaps on the defensive side of the ball. They're always going to be a staunch defensive team, but we did see a bit of a lapse last season, so we know that Nick Saban would have shored those issues up. But it came down to the young guys. Malachi Moore, Gary Danielson said, and I know you guys usually have Gary, so I'm just going to keep quoting him during this report, but Gary said, what a perfect day for Malachi Moore, a true freshman to come in to learn a challenging defensive system that Nick Saban has put into place here at Alabama, and to not just hang within the defense, but truly shine. To cap his day off with an interception at the other end of the field here was just a beautiful beautiful day for a young man. And again, I think it's putting a warning out to the rest of the SEC that this team can hang, even though they had a troubling offseason just like the rest of the conference did.
Well, Jamie, you're always welcome post-game here on CBS Sports HQ. We appreciate the insight joining us from Tuscaloosa. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Jamie Erdahl, lead sideline reporter for the SEC on CBS. Alabama 52-24. Mac Jones 20-27, 435 yards, 4 touchdowns. And let's go now to Chip Patterson. Chip had no problem laying the 18 with Alabama. It was free money for him as they continue to pay off for you, Chip.
Yeah, and it's because of that difference. And what did we say? That Texas A&M in this game likes to hang around for a quarter and a half. I mean, they've got great talent. They do meet that blue chip ratio of having more 4 and 5 stars than 3 stars or below. They have a lot of the pieces that you would think would make a championship contender. But they are not championship level. They are not championship form, and Alabama absolutely is. So 14-14, all of a sudden you think, hey, maybe we got ourselves a game right here. And that 21-point, that was just hitting the gas right there, just dusting the opponent, just proving that Texas A&M has so far to go before they're able to catch up to the likes of Alabama. And I do want to piggyback on a little bit of something that Jamie just said right there, because it wasn't just Malachi Moore. I mean, you know, we're seeing Will Anderson, the linebacker, for consensus 5-star prospect. He's also having a big impact here for this Alabama defense. And so I look at this Alabama team and I think about how much more they have to grow and how they are going to be even better. We've got massive games in the early part of Alabama's season. That Georgia date, we've all got it circled. We've had it circled. We know that it's coming up. But when I think about Alabama as an SEC championship contender, when I think about Alabama as a national championship contender, I look at some of the youth movement that we saw today against Texas A&M, and I think they are going to be a better team in December than they even are right now in early October.
Well, we know that Alabama always has the ingredients. They have winning ingredients, of course, here on the CBS Sports HQ postgame show presented by Papa John's. B-Mac, when you take a look at what this team does offensively, defensively, special teams, I mean, we haven't even talked about Najee Harris yet. He had 2 touchdowns in this game and gets overshadowed by the big receiving day from Metchie and from Waddle and DeVonta Smith.
They're probably the most balanced offense in college football right now. There's so many players you can talk about, and Najee Harris is probably the best complete running back in the SEC, and he just gave you mediocre production to his standards. Mediocre production, but he still got into the end zone twice. And the best comparison I can give you watching Alabama's offense, not necessarily having an elite-like arm talent at the quarterback position, guys, they are like the Kansas City Chiefs of college football. And the reason why I say that, because they have so much speed, right? Mac Jones is more than a serviceable quarterback, but you don't consider him to be the best arm talent in the conference. He might not be the strongest quarterback or the accurate quarterback, but he goes about his business and he does it the right way. We know who Pat Mahomes is. He's an elite-like player. But outside of that, those comparisons, when you look at the quarterback in Mac Jones and Pat Mahomes, Kansas City have so much speed, and that's what Alabama has. And, you know, Chip talked about the recruiting that Jimbo has been able to do, 4 and 5 stars, yes. But their 4 and 5 stars don't look like the 4 and 5 stars that Alabama has. And that can be said for any opponent that plays against Alabama. It's something about Alabama players, when you see them go against these other 4 and 5 star kids from other universities, they don't look the same. Alabama looks faster, they look quicker, they look stronger, and they look like they live in the weight room. So that's just a quality appreciation for how they develop players. But me personally, man, they have so much. I thought they were fast last year when they had Jeudy and Ruggs. I think Waddle might be faster than Ruggs. And it's crazy to even think that. I mean, I think he might be fast. And Metchie, man, they have so many 4.2s and 4.3s. It's unbelievable and it's unfair.
Yeah, B-Mac, it's like a track team. Somewhere in Tuscaloosa, I swear there's like a cloning machine. And before wide receivers go to the draft, like Jerry Jeudy just walks in and they create another version of him. And out comes John Metchie, a guy who we all heard about before the season as, okay, he's going to be a nice third receiver, whatever. He's unproven. Look, I mean, there's no difference. Ruggs, like B-Mac said, Ruggs, Metchie, along with DeVonta Smith and Jaylen Waddle, it never ends. And I think what Metchie has brought to this is an element that I think really helps Jaylen Waddle, because Jaylen Waddle has always been a Swiss Army knife. Well, now Jaylen Waddle's being counted on to be primarily more of a receiver, and right now he's getting the one-on-one look. So you saw Metchie have some success earlier, and then what happened in the second half? Boom, over the top, there goes Jaylen Waddle running away from the entire defense. It really is remarkable. And to kind of piggyback on what y'all talked about last block, the offensive renaissance that has taken place, it really has come into focus on that offense in that wide receiving core, because they just don't have one Julio Jones. They just don't have one Calvin Ridley. They got 4 and 5 of them, and they just keep regenerating themselves every offseason.
Chip, some would argue that Mac Jones is a game manager. Has he changed that narrative to you yet?
Without a doubt. We talk about fighter pilots and bus drivers, and I think that we are watching Mac Jones make the transition from being a bus driver, somebody who gets you to where you need to be on time, to being an absolute fighter pilot. And it is with some of these dimes that we see down the sideline, because that is not just delivering the ball to the easy throw. That is making the tough throw. That is trusting your wide receivers. That is having the kind of chemistry with your receivers that you need to be able to make the kind of plays that we saw against Texas A&M. I mean, 20 for 27, 435 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like, I look at Mac Jones and I think about the different ways that we talked about this Alabama offense coming into the season, as though he was just a placeholder for 5-star Bryce Young. And the performances that we have seen through 2 games, and I will admit, small sample size here, I think that Mac Jones absolutely has to be a part of Alabama's contention for a national championship, because he has shown poise under pressure. He has been unfazed, even with pass rushers in his face, and he has just delivered some perfect passes to these elite wide receivers down the sideline. So I just think that he is a little bit better than anybody wanted to commit to. It's not better than admit, it's better than commit. Nobody was ready to say, based on the performances from last year, that Mac Jones was going to be able to lead this team to a title. But I'm telling you, Mac Jones can be the starter of a national championship Alabama Crimson Tide team in 2020, and that's what he's shown us through 2 games.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.